tour. Please make sure your tickets say 12:30. Your guide today is the lovely Leah. Make your way down, show your guide your tickets. 12:30 behind bars tour. To the gate, please.
Today we are visiting the Fremantle prison, which is a former Australian prison and World Heritage Site in Fremantle, Western Australia. So this is just the entrance gate to the prison. So it's a 15-acre site, which includes like the prison cell blocks, gatehouse, perimeter walls, cottages, and tunnels. It was initially used for convicts transported from Britain, but was transferred to the colonial government in 1886 for use for locally sentenced prisoners. So the Royal Commissions were held in 1898 and 1911 and instigated some reform to the prison system, but significant changes didn't begin until the 1960s. So the government department, which is in charge of the prison, underwent several reorganizations in the 70s and the 80s, but the culture of the Fremantle prison was resistant to change. So a lot of prisoners got really pissed off, and they started the 1988 riot with guards taken hostage, and there was a fire that caused $1.8 million worth of damage. So the prison was closed in 1991 and replaced by the maximum security Casuarina prison. I believe that's how you pronounce it. So the prison was administered by like this comptroller general, sheriff, or director, which is responsible for the entire convict or prison system in Western Australia, and a superintendent in charge of the prison itself. The prison officers, known as warders in the 19th century, worked under stringent conditions until they achieved representation through the Western Australian Prison Officers Union. So convicts were usually of good character as potential like future colonists, but less desirable convicts were eventually sent. As a locally run prison, Fremantle's population was generally short sentenced white prisoners in the 1890s, with very few Aboriginal prisoners. By the late 20th century, most prisoners were serving longer sentences, so like a higher proportion of them were violent, and Aboriginal people were overrepresented. So prison life at Fremantle was extremely regulated. Meals were an important part of the day, eaten in the cells throughout the operational life of the prison. So convict or prisoner labor was used on public infrastructure works until 1911. so like only work inside the prison was allowed, though there was never really enough to fully occupy the inmates. So punishments varied over the years, from flogging and time in irons, eventually replaced by lengthening of the sentences and, just depriving them of visitors or entertainment. So more than 40 hangings were carried out at Fremantle Prison, which was Western Australia's only lawful place of execution between 1888 and 1984. So prominent escapees included Moondyne Joe, as well as John Boyle, O'Reilly, and six others in the 19th century, as well as like Brendan Abbott in 1989. There's been various riots and major like damages caused in 1968 and 1988. So since 1991, Fremantle Prison has been conserved as a recognized heritage site, and various restoration works have been undertaken.
Were done up at the Roundhouse on the beachfront in Freo, Perth Jail, which is now part of the museum in Northbridge, or at regional prisons. So the person is generally held in holding cell number 1 out the back in solitary confinement here, 2 hours prior to going to the gallows. They're out there with a minister and a guard, confessing whatever their sins. Just before 8 o'clock in the morning, they come out. They stand at the door of solitary confinement. Their feet will get tied with loose leather straps so they can still walk, hands either into a body strap or behind their back, and they have a hood over their head with a flap up. From the time they're hooded and shackled to the time they hang is about 1 minute. To do it fairly quickly. Now, Fremantle Prison has had 44 executions, 43 men and 1 woman. The last man hanged in the state was Eric Edgar Cook, which was October 26, 1964. And the only woman ever executed in Fremantle Prison was Martha Rendell, October 6, 1909. Everybody executed has been for murder. Okay. Now, when they come to this door, the hood goes over their face, as we said. The guards will assist them up the stairs, out over the doors there, which are closed up. They pop the noose over their head, and at the stroke of 8 from the front clock, drop the gates. Now, the neck is broken in less than a second, but the person can remain on the rope. It takes approximately 15 minutes for the pulse to stop. This is normal with any form of execution. Okay? After a while, the medic will go into the pit. They check for signs of life. If there are none, their person is lowered into the pit, put into a body bag and taken out to the front gate, releasing the body to the family for burial. If no one comes to claim you, you're taken to Fremantle Cemetery and you're buried in a pauper's grave in unconsecrated ground. So for the last man executed and the only woman executed, both had large families. Neither body was claimed and they're both buried in the same grave, even though their executions were almost 60 years apart. Okay. Now let's just have a look at this rope here. This rope has not been used for an execution. Most of the ropes have been burnt. They believe that the spirit or soul of the person would live on in the rope, not a happy event, not a happy ghost. Okay. That is the correct noose they use here. It's called an Englishman's noose or an English nautical noose. And they use long drop in Western Australia. It's very precise for what it is required to do. And stop standing so close. Come here. Practical demonstration. Thank you, dear. Okay, so today we're executing. Search and execute. What can we say? So what we take into consideration is his height, his body mass, and what he does as a job. If he does something physical, his upper body and his neck muscles will be a lot stronger, and they need to take that into consideration to get the drop correct. If the drop is too short, it will strangle you. This takes 20 minutes to half an hour. If the drop is too long, because of the speed and the weight of the body behind it, you're going to lose body parts. Okay? It's only really happened once, so that was a bonus. Okay, thank you, sir. You must learn not to stand so close to the body. Okay? Now, WA was the last state in Australia to remove capital punishment. And this was after an Act of Parliament, August 22nd, 1984, almost 20 years after the last execution. However, after the Port Arthur massacre in 1996, we had a public referendum in the state which asked if we wanted capital punishment reintroduced to WA, and the majority said yes. No. Majority actually said yes. Okay? This, however, has never been done. But if they decide to bring in capital punishment, the gallows, once we take out the safety rails, are still functional. Okay? So be good children. Take the children in with you, that's entirely your call. For the person with a pram, or with pram.
go into a tea room.
Oh, fairly modern.
Mark and I are in prison.
Solitary.
We need some money to forget, so we can send some.
We'll go to the electric one, and another thing you usually just put in there is we have some rap sheets from some of the ladies in the street.
Except that's not.